news, and we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to know that our brother was ill, and we're waking up this morning to the news that Benjamin Zephaniah has transcended. We're shocked. I know that this sent shock waves throughout the world, throughout the globe. I know that. The man himself, MUTABARUKA. We're gonna have a conversation with Muta. The Wednesday night, Thursday, 5:45. Muta, every time your program starts, the same little lady come inside here with the thing. She did it last, doing it again. Good afternoon, good afternoon. I don't know where she tell me, say Muta. You're inside of a STEPPIN razor. It's a STEPPIN razor, and we go through on with time for news at that time. Shane Clark is right here beside me. How you do, Shane? All right, she says Shane good. No, Shane is very good. Me can't tell you about that. Shane is very good. Shane good. Shane, if you want to see Shane abs. Mr. Wisdom is here. Oh, you see how the thing said? When I'm doing Running African, I don't say nobody. Now I have a little lady with a paper. I have the engineer and I have a technical operator. So it is what it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hey, Mr. Wisdom, we're good? Hey, what a day. We're laughing through the kind of grief. We're laughing, understanding, understanding. Because we woke this morning to a not too good kind of news. And we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to know that our brother was ill, and we're waking up this morning to the news that Benjamin Zephaniah has transcended. We're shocked. I know that this sent shock waves throughout the world, throughout the globe. I know that. As for me, I'm telling you, I was so shocked because I woke up, checked my messages, and there were about 5 or 6, and then they just kept coming in. At first I couldn't believe. And then I, just went to verify, and it was all over the place. Wow. Benjamin Zephaniah, one of the greatest poets, but just a great human being. A few things to get through today. We're going to be paying tribute to Benjamin Zephaniah. I know Benjamin Zephaniah is also a really good friend of MUTABARUKA, and if Muta were around, I'm quite sure, he would be saying much more than I can ever say about Benjamin Zephaniah in the space. But we're going to be speaking with attorney at law, Ian Forrest, in a few, and we're also going to go live to Birmingham, to Handsworth, Birmingham, where Benjamin Zephaniah is from, and to my sister Ankobia. Ankobia is a social commentator. She is a journalist. She's a producer, and someone who's been paying close attention just to the music scene and the entertainment scene, the Pan-African scene. So we're going to be linking with her. In between all of that, we're going to be talking about the Haitian crisis, because we have our Haitian brothers and sisters coming into Jamaica, and even as I speak, we're hearing that there's an ongoing situation now in St. Thomas. We're going to be talking to my sister Elaine about that situation in St. Thomas, because she's on her way. I think she's probably there by now, where we understand that our brothers and sisters coming in again from Haiti might have been intercepted by the authorities, and I'm not quite sure what is going to happen. But Elaine will be telling us more about that in a while. Also, you might have heard that we've talked about this a lot, and I'm sure that Muta might have mentioned this too, that a young student was harassed. I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but you would have seen the video where the police or police officers appeared to have had manhandled a young schoolboy. And this was in the process of ticketing his dad. That's been all over the news. Well, the dad will be joining me in the studios later on in the program, and we'll have some more information about that, about how his son is doing, and about that altercation. And, all right, so we're going to try and get Ian online, Ian Forrest, right now. Ian, if you're standing by, and I know you are, we want to talk to you right now. Also, Dr. Belinda Morrison will be joining me later on in the program, looking at research on prostate cancer. Do you know that Jamaica has the highest rate of prostate cancer in the world? How is that? We have been saying this over and over and over and over for many years. How come that situation hasn't changed? Well, before we go to the interviews, let me do this. Name this program, We All Could Be Refugees, because that's one of his poems. We all could be refugees. Joining me on the phone lines, Ian Forrest, my brother, attorney at law, Pan-African, journalist and broadcaster, and someone who has been following the work of Benjamin Zephaniah over the years. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good. In shock.
I know.
But I'm good.
And I apologize for being the one to really give you that shock today, because you literally sent me a text to say when you saw the post, talk to us about that.
So you had put up what was his autobiography, and I'm like, well, shall celebrate Benjamin Zeph. I don't know this guy personally, but I just feel like because of his nature, you watch him on YouTube and you see the inclusiveness of his work. You see his approachability. You see he's just a multidisciplinary artist person. So, I would be seeing, things like Peaky Blinders. It would be coming up in my feed, and I'm like, what's this series all about? Not too big on TV watching. Then I come to realize Zeph is an actor in Peaky Blinders, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, wow, so that you're putting up his autobiography. I'm like, yeah, nice, I love Zeph,
Right.
And then I see you put up another one as to say he's no more. I'm like,
yes.
That yours, I say.
Yeah, I know. I saw your comment, because and what I posted was, our elders say, our ancestors say, when an elder transcends, when an elder dies, a library is burnt down. Now, I use elder for Benjamin Zephaniah. He was 65 years old, so pretty young. But elder in the context of just his body of work, of who he is and to all of us, of what he has achieved, and the kind of stature that he's achieved over time. Let's just look a little bit at that, Ian, because you alluded to that in your opening statement, that this man is multifaceted. We know him as a poet, but there's just so much more to Benjamin Zephaniah.
Yeah, he's so, I would say between yourself and Muta over the years, been listening to you guys from, was in that Mirzai time when IRFM came into being. So the totality of reggae, the globalness of reggae, in a sense, was something that came to you. It wouldn't be hard for somebody to say, a reggae station 24/7. That would work, and then people like yourselves, I remember Reggae Philharmonic being one of the things that Big A used to play, and I'm like, whoa, reggae multifaceted, right?
Yes.
So it is in that context now you start here the Benjamin Zephaniahs of the world, and you say, yo, that brother are hard,
And it's interesting you mentioned Big A, because Big A in 1990 was the one who introduced me to Benjamin Zephaniah. He brought me into the library, took out 2 albums. I remember the Grey Cover album, and he said, listen to this and play this, because obviously I came into the space as a poet, and I was playing a lot of poetry. And he said, listen to this. And 1990 till now, it is what it is. So that for us, he's more than the soundtrack to our lives, eh?
And then you recognize that the Black British experience, so we've always credited him Jamaican easily in England, born in Birmingham, but we've easily credited him as being one of us.
And you can depend on us. You can depend. Sorry to interrupt you, but you can depend on us not to credit the Barbadian side of him. We just take him over totally.
I learned about it this morning. You know,
yes.
and because so much of my people are in England, yes. Their experience there between himself and Linton Kwesi Johnson, I am getting to appreciate the struggles of our people, what we went through there, and as you know, just put his name in, and Benjamin begins to talk about Windrush, and he's on the front lines of that. A 2020 poem or 2020 posting I'm seeing talking about what the Jews went through, and then he goes in and says, you know, the slaughter of the Palestinians, and you recognize there's an ongoing thing. If you play that world track right now, then pretty much it sums up the situation as we're seeing it now. He lived his convictions. I'm feeling very strongly that he was what he was all about. In 2003, man, you're getting a big award like a OBE or a MBE, you know, member of the British Empire. And you're saying to yourself, man, you're refusing that? Why? But you've earned it.
But what did that do for us he identifies as an anarchist, you know, and he made me, you know, comfortable in that thinking, but even more comfortable in that rejection of the OBE, saying that he's been fighting against empire all his life. And we have a clip of him saying that, which I'll play later on. But the point you're making there, Ian, go ahead.
So I was in New York at the time, yes? And I mean, with progressive left radio station WBAI in New York, yes. And I mean, my stablemates included the venerable Amy Goodman, who you would be seeing right now as host of Democracy Now! From them times, right? So he would have appeared on our program explaining it, and of course, I have to go back to Linton again, you know, one of the founding fathers of the dub, I like to say, accepting his, and Lenny Henry accepting his awards, and Trevor McDonald.
Yes, Trevor McDonald, yes.
Accepting his, and you say, when you hear them explain it, because Lenny explained that, you know, he was not going to take it, but then family pressure kind of caused him to do it. And you say, I can't knock a guy who accepts this, but the guy who says he's not going to take it.
And what he said. And what he said about it.
In a sense, lives to honor that word. No regrets about it. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. And today, as we mourn, celebrate, honor him, the young 65-year-old man. I tell you, if I talk to my high school self, 65 and them saying young, no big man, you know what I mean?
But think about what he's achieved in his 65 years, and the fact that he was such a revolutionary figure, you know, using the arts to put that out. But his activism, wow.
When you say revolutionary, you know, he could strike you as an ogre, you know, some big unapproachable guy. One of the things I'm watching is an interview he did with this little sister, a little white girl called Aurelia or something like so. And she sits down and gives him what is easily a credibly journalistic interview, you know, deep thing. How this big Rastaman literally on the back foot, you know, if we think in cricket terms, you know, literally on the back foot to play her strokes, but they had such a wonderful time. And I'm thinking, this is the nature of a human being that recognizes humanity, honors humanity. And if you can talk to children with respect, I'm thinking, you must be top of the pops. You really are for the kinds of things they had talked about. One of the things was faith. The book was faith.
My brother, thank you so much. We'll leave it there because we're totally out of time. But Ian, enough respect. Thank you so much for foregrounding and balancing for us, our brother, Benjamin Zephaniah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Give thanks. Veteran of British literature, passed away at the age of 65. Early this morning, we understand that his wife was by his side. He's been diagnosed, you know, with brain tumor 8 weeks ago. We didn't know. And this is why it is such a shock. time on IRF, 10 a.m.
I happen to know that.
The Africa Forum.
I happen to know
Running
that.
African.
And I happen to be listening every Sunday.
Well, there you, well. So did you hear, you know, the accusation that came at me about stabbing?
Yes.
Oh, you heard that one.
You know that Sunday morning, I was watching football. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, you know, you had changed the plan, the entire the concept of the program. Right. I said, all right, I can't miss it, so we can't watch football. Mm-hmm. And then later on, I don't remember how I heard about it. Yeah. But I said, but something happened.
Yes.
Somebody said, but so I called somebody. The person never didn't know what happened. Somebody said it's okay. So I got down to the logotech. You know me, I have to hear what go on. Yeah, I jumped on the log and listened to the entire conversation. Me say, oh, you see, because you'd planned to change. Me just say, all right, make I miss the program.
I had changed the program to just tell it to the callers. That's why everybody think they could have just do everything.
So me just move along.
And you hear me.
I don't remember how I heard about it.
I was saying my thing because look here now. So who don't know is really Mr. Matthew Samido, who had announced that Little Duns River would be opened.
Yeah, reopened.
Because the Prime Minister saying must open me by 2025.
But you're not just taking that.
Yeah, by before Christmas. No, because I wasn't going to say anything really and truly.
Yeah, because you had said that.
Exactly.
I was disappointed when I heard that.
I cancelled that program, you know.
Right.
But then...
Because of the outside broadcast, he was there.
And he was asked. He was asked about it at the outside broadcast, and he responded.
And I know what you were feeling inside here.
So I asked him.
You couldn't hold back.
No, because...
So you have to ask a question.
Yes, because, you know, we come from... So Robert, you know we come from the old school of journalism.
Yeah, because, I mean, inside you're turning upside down, yes and no, man, but wonder if me should have bought that. And you say, no, me can't hold it. I know exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you want to stab him?
He said, yes, I stab at him. And I'm still getting over that. Because you could have heard some shocked, right?
Yeah, you did.
Throw me off on the hill.
It did catch you off guard.
Totally. but I did come back. So how you doing, Mr. William?
Yeah, I am doing well. Good to see you after such a long time.
Yes. I know.
It's a long time.
Yeah, right. So you're voting in the election, in the upcoming local government election?
No more. So as long as, well, if me have a vote. And I'm sure I will check on my status.
But if you don't have a ticket, you don't
have a,
So make sure, say you, what them call it again? Enumerated.
You're enumerated and your ID and everything in place. You know, but
what a missed opportunity on the Prime Minister, because I think he should have gone ahead and announced it.
And announced it, yes, because it would have been a great moment.
Yes.
But you know what happened with that?
What? The
announcement by the Finance Minister took away everything from the Prime Minister.
But the Finance Minister never announced something. You mean 50 to 100?
We call it now.
Duty?
Yeah.
The customs duty?
He never announced it, but he announced the announcement.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And that was the theme, basically, of the post, we call it thing? Conference. Every discussion was about that.
But because the media is directing people in that direction, because didn't you hear the Prime... I said right on Sunday, and I still believe it, because I listened to the entire thing, and I thought the Prime Minister suffered moments of brain freeze. I don't know if you watched it. No, honestly, I think he should get some rest. He's gone to Washington now, you know.
He's in Washington.
Yeah, but I think he should get some rest. And I'm saying this genuinely. Because the conference was underwhelming.
So what you said brain freeze was about?
Brain freeze, because there are moments when he appeared in his speech to forget what he was about to say. Especially that moment when he was talking about security. And he said, Jamaica has the lowest incarceration rate in the region. Now remember, that's not a good thing, you know, considering the level of crime. But then he looked, there was silence in the auditorium. He looked at everybody, and then he just moved on to another totally different conversation.
You see, sometimes when you're watching / listening to these things, you have to be consistent. Because I am listening.
Tiring. Voting for Labour. Let me take a break. Later on in the program. But in the meantime, very concerned about what's happening here on the island of Jamaica in terms of how we are interacting with, our relations with, and our treatment of Haitian refugees. Interesting, because Shane, we should play from Benjamin Zephaniah the song "We Could All Be Refugees," because he has that song, that poem, "We Could All Be Refugees," when you think of the context that we are functioning in now. We have on the line humanitarian, human rights attorney, Malaine Alain, who has been very, very vocal, and not just vocal, but integral in speaking out about the human rights of the Haitian refugees coming in. Good afternoon, Malaine. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us inside of a STEPPIN Razor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. As usual, let me just say thank you for the work that you have been doing. Let us start with some background. Well, let's start with what's happening right now, because I understand that there is an ongoing situation right now in St. Thomas. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, I want to be careful about the information I provide, but I will say that I'm in St. Thomas now, where I was making inquiries about Haitians who were reportedly placed in custody from yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so we are working on that issue and trying to find a resolution. But since the matter is developing, I would prefer not to provide too many details on that. I
totally understand. What I want to confirm with you, though, even though it's a developing situation, is whether or not this is so. Do we know that Haitians are actually here in custody?
But they're no longer in St. Thomas, but they are in custody, yes.
Oh, wow. All right. Thank you for that update, Malaine. There has been, and you had a press conference, was it yesterday?
Right. I had a press conference on Monday.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and tell us about what came out of what that was about and the main issues that came out of that press conference.
Sure. So, Freedom Imaginaries convened a press conference on Monday to discuss the urgent situation of Haitian migrants arriving in Jamaica who are being returned within, sometimes 24 hours of arrival, without due process, without access to a lawyer, and without access to an asylum procedure. And, we invited a range of organizations and individuals and invited organizations to provide statements of solidarity. And it was a really important event because, we got consensus from organizations, from Human Rights Watch in the United States, which has done an incredible job documenting what's going on in Haiti, to Jamaican organizations like the Advocates Network, Jamaicans for Justice, Stand Up for Jamaica, the Jamaica Council of Churches, which gave a really inspiring and passionate statement about Christianity and our duty to treat our neighbors, with dignity. Mm-hmm. And the overwhelming conclusion is that, Haitians arriving to Jamaica have a right to due process. They have a right to speak with an attorney. They have a right to seek asylum, and they should not be returned under any circumstance without procedural guarantees being met. So we are calling on the government of... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're calling on the government?
Yes, one last point is that, we're calling on the government, CARICOM, and United Nations and other human rights bodies to establish a regional framework and a regional approach for the protection of Haitian migrants, including through the implementation of the Refugee Convention and respect for due process in asylum procedures.
Help our listeners to understand, because we know that there is a stigma fueled by media, how the media is reporting on Haiti, not just here in Jamaica, but just generally over the many years, so that the kind of empathy that a nation should be feeling is not necessarily there, although I'm seeing some massive changes. But what are these conventions, and what is the responsibility of Jamaica? What should Jamaica be doing when refugees from Haiti land on our shores?
A great question, KABU. So the first port of call is our Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, which says that every person in Jamaica, regardless of their migration status, has certain fundamental rights, including the right to due process. And so, the position that the government is taking, which is that Haitians who are refused leave to land, technically, that they do not have access to a lawyer and all of that, that has no basis in the Constitution, and I would say it's actually unconstitutional. And then the second port of call is, the Refugee Convention, which Jamaica has ratified. And that convention sets out the definition of refugee and establishes certain obligations that states must comply with. And one of those obligations is the prohibition of what we call refoulement, which is the removal of people to a place where they may face persecution. And we know that Haiti is such a place because the United Nations, the highest level officials, have said that Haiti is in a situation of cataclysmic crisis with, up to nearly 4,000 murders since the year started alone, nearly 200,000 persons displaced internally, sleeping in, crammed in classrooms or sleeping in the open air or in spontaneous settlements. And so the UN has called upon states in the region to refrain from forcibly returning Haitians to Haiti. And then outside of the Refugee Convention and its prohibition of returning people to a place where they'll face persecution, they also have international human rights treaties, which set out basic human rights, requirements that apply to all persons in a state's jurisdiction. But KABU, I would just end by saying that, on top of all of those, conventions and all of that, there is a basic principle and concept of dignity and how we treat each other. Mm-hmm. And I would say that, Haiti is a Caribbean country. Haitians are our brothers and sisters. And so as a matter of humanity, we really shouldn't send them back within 24 hours of arrival without an opportunity to even recover from their journey and without access to a lawyer.
Dastardly. I heard the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Mullahu Fort. I don't know if you see the ad that's running. She's literally promoting Human Rights Day, which is coming up on the 10th, and she talks about the convention that Jamaica has signed on to, and that Jamaica is defending the people's human rights, and she's committed to that. But it seems as if even though this ad is running, I think that there is it's almost like a conundrum. How does these two things not corresponding at all? Jamaica's treatment of Haitians landing on our shores and this ad that is running on television. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I am concerned because on the one hand, Human Rights Day is coming up and we're saying that we protect human rights. But on the other hand, the most marginalized and vulnerable people aren't being protected. And so I think the strength of a human rights system or a justice system is how it deals with the most marginalized and vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And what I would say is that people with means and wealth are treated one way, but the most marginalized are always excluded and treated as disposable.
This seems to be an uphill battle, literally, for human rights activists and attorneys like yourself. Thank you for the work you're doing. I know I'm seeing how challenging it has been. I know you called on CARICOM just now. Has CARICOM said anything? Because here we have one of the leading members of CARICOM returning Haitian refugees back to Haiti against even CARICOM's own policies. Has CARICOM said anything as far as you know?
Well, CARICOM's silence at this moment is quite problematic because, as you know, under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, which is the regional treaty, Haitians actually have a right of hassle-free entry and automatic stay of 6 months. And the Caribbean Court of Justice has said that one of the procedural guarantees attendant upon that right of entry is the right to due process, the right to speak with an attorney, and so on. And so, CARICOM should, which is why we're calling on CARICOM to, step up and establish a framework for refugee protection so that, we can have a regional response and that Haitians aren't left in the situation of vulnerability and abuse.
And finally, Marlene, where do we go from here? Because, there is a situation that's possibly developing in St. Thomas. There's an ongoing situation of returning refugees. What's the next step?
Well, we have to continue with what we're doing. I don't want to go into details, but I would just encourage civil society organizations, members of the legal community to stand up for this issue because, this has implications for all Jamaicans. It's a rule of law issue. It's a due process issue. It's a question of how we treat, our vulnerable people. And I just want to end by saying that, driving into St. Thomas, I'm not familiar with the area. So, I stopped and asked someone on the side of the road for directions. And, in a very friendly way, he pointed me and he said, go that way, daughter, go that way, daughter. Mm-hmm. And, that said to me, this is who we are as Jamaicans,
Yes.
I don't know this man, but he's calling me daughter because this is our culture and it's who we are. So we really have to stand up for what's going on, against what's going on. And I hope we can all come together in solidarity on that point.
I really do hope so, too. Thank you so much, my sister, Elaine, human rights attorney at law. Thank you so much, my sister.
Thank you so much, KABU.
Activism community, our deepest condolences. As I said before, just a great shock waking up this morning to the news that our brother had transcended. So we're standing by to go live to, all right, later on in the program, we're going to be going live to Handsworth in Birmingham. That's, of course, where our brother originates, Barbadian and Jamaican parentage. You heard in the conversation with Ian just now, Ian Forrest, where we talked about the fact that, we've claimed him totally. He has Barbadian and Jamaican heritage, but we claimed him here on the island. So you hear, wait, Michaelos. This reminds me of you in a way, Michaelos, my brother. How you doing? In this segment of the program, I'm going to be talking to a very special guest who's in studio with me right now. Just a quick background, because I think about 2 Sundays ago, was it about 2 or so Sundays ago, I got up early as usual, just about minutes to 3 o'clock, going through the newscast and going through the social media pages and the newspapers and so on before I came to work. And I saw a video, it was literally trending, of a young boy, schoolboy in uniform, who appeared to be as if he, in an altercation with what appeared to be police officers. Now, I didn't have enough time to go through that to see exactly what was happening, but I remember that I felt really, really upset about what I was witnessing. As a matter of fact, I got so upset that, when I'm saying blood run cold, my body trembled. I thought, this is hard to watch. And so I left it for a while. I wasn't quite sure if it was happening in Jamaica. But then I came to work and I saw from one of our listeners, Omalea, Tia, who counted as a pick name, who wrote on my social media post, to say, KABU, are you going to talk about the young schoolboy who was being harassed by police? And so I came on, I opened the mic and I said, listen, I'm not sure if this is the video you're talking about. I saw it this morning. I'm not sure, if it happened in Jamaica and so on. But then I started talking about how we criminalize our youth, how we stigmatize them, what happened to them at that early age, what they witness, what they go through, and how dangerous this was, only to find out later that this was a student, a Jamaican student, who attends a high school in Jamaica, and it was a broader context of that student with his dad. His dad was stopped by the police, and what happened after that. My special guest in the studio is his dad, Horace Robinson. How are you doing, Mr. Robinson?
I'm good.
Come closer to the microphone for me. Good to have you in studio with us. I know it's not a good time for you because of what you have experienced and the aftermath of all of that. But help us to understand what happened.
On that day.
Yeah, if you come closer for me, please, Horace. Yes, ma'am.
On November the 24th, 2023, I was picking up them from school, and on my way home, I was stopped by a group of police officers on the main road of Rakabesa. He stopped I complied. He asked me for roll down my window, roll down my window, roll down the rear back window of the car. And he asked me for my papers. I presented my papers to him, and then he said he was going to charge me for a traffic violation. When I asked him what was it, because I have on my seatbelt, he said that he want to charge me for seatbelt for the kids. So I was explaining to him why the seatbelt was not on the kids, and he said no, he was charging me for car seat. So at that time I was asking him, why you charging me for car seat, and the government revoked that law and said no more car seat for kids that is 6 to 11 years old.
And your children are what age?
6 and 11. The boy is 11 and the girl is 6. So he go on the other side of the road.
Sorry, your daughter was in the car?
My daughter
all
was
this
in
time?
the car. Yeah, in the back of the car. So I was asking him why. So I stepped out of the vehicle. He went on the the left-hand side of the vehicle. So I go around and asking him. So he said, don't come out and exalt yourself. So I said, what do you mean by that? So he said, go back in the car. I said, I can't tell me to go back in the car. So I was standing there, and the police officer passed and said, go back in the car. The police officer go back in the car. So after that, I go in the car. He was standing on the left side of the car, same way. So I said to him, you can go ahead and write the ticket because I'm going to contest it in court. So he go ahead, writing the ticket. To my knowledge, he was on his phone. So it was electrical ticket that he was given. So he's on his phone. So he walked away to get it print because he didn't have a printer on him at that time. So I stepped out of the car to get a leak. So I was standing there after I take the leak and folding my hands. So a next officer that was about 2 to 3 car lengths away from my vehicle to the back, he came up to me, and I was the gentleman that take the video. He was passing by and he said to me if everything was okay. So I said to him, yeah man, but the idiot, because I'm going to say exactly what I said. The idiot police boy want to ticket me for car seat. So he drove off and he stopped in front of the service vehicle. So I was standing there, get a phone call, come off the phone, put the phone in my pocket. So that police officer walked up to me and said, oh, you must call the police, idiot police boy. So I said, obviously you're an idiot. You're not an idiot because the government talk about something and work against it. So he said, me can lock you up, you know. So I said, what do you mean by lock me up for what? So he ruled out the charge. So I
what was the charge?
I don't remember. So I said, lock me up for what? So he reached towards his handcuff in his handcuff holster and tried to hold on to me. So I said, let me go. Don't harass me. So I stepped 2 steps back after that and said, me don't talk to you, you know. Afterwards, he insist and he reached for his handcuff, pushed me. When he pushed me, I dropped in the bushes. And that's the time then my son and my daughter run out of the car.
And your daughter is 6 years old?
My daughter is 6. Both of them.
So they were witnessing all of this?
Everything. And I couldn't saw them because the car window was up. So I couldn't saw what they were doing.
So when they saw you fall, that's when they rushed out of the car?
Yes.
Both of them? Both of them.
So the Fitzroy, because my nickname is Horace. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
My real name is Fitzroy Robinson, just like Fitzroy.
Okay.
So Fitzroy run out of the car and Karina, and then hold on to the police officer's vest and ask him.
Both of them?
Both of them run out of the car. But the little girl was standing crying, and Fitzroy hold on to him and say, what you do to my father? What you do to my father? And he punched the officer. I don't know where he punched him, but I know he gave him a punch. And he said, well, this little boy harass the police for. And he pushed him. At that time, the officer was paying Fitzroy attention. So he pushed him and he stumbled, but he tore his vest. And then the next officer run from across the road. And that was the officer that pepper sprayed him and kneeled down in his stomach.
I saw that. That was a cruel act. That was a cruel. So it wasn't the officer who he was engaging with.
No.
Who did that? It was an officer who was watching
from across. Because at that time he thought it was me and the officer in an altercation. So when he run across the road, his gun was in his hand. And after I saw that it was Fitzroy, because the officer that was in the altercation with me, he tried to hold on to Fitzroy. And then the other officer run across the road. And as at 11 years old, how come 2 police officers can't restrain an 11-year-old and put him down and said, sit here, what you do is wrong?
What was going through your mind at that time when you saw them? What was happening with your son?
Everything happened so fast. And the inspector, everybody rushed across the road because the officer that was arresting me at the time, it was only him and me across the road. No other officer was there because the officer that was issuing the ticket, he had to walk to the service vehicle to get the ticket print. So it was only me and him standing there, and the other officers was across the road. So when they rush over and see the incident now, that's the time that the inspector and some other officers come across. And I was standing saying to him, you're going to stand here making pepper spray my son? He did nothing.
The thing that tugged at the very core of my being is when I saw on the video that young boy, to take away everything that happened, who was pepper sprayed asking for water. At some point he asked for water because his eyes were smarting, right?
Yes.
And this is usually what people do when they're pepper sprayed. They want water.
Yes.
What was he told?
The officer that said you're not getting no water, he was the one that was issuing the ticket. And the inspector stand there and did nothing. He said nothing. Nothing. All he was insisting.
The inspector was there?
The inspector was there.
Wow. How is your son?
To the outer part of it, he's okay. But
on the outside?
On the outside. But
mentally? You know your son?
Yeah.
And when you say mentally, what are some of the things that you're dealing with now?
I try to talk to him. I try to make him get counseling from the guidance counselor at the school. And make it try to talk to go to school. I tell him to go to school, talk to his peers.
He's able to go to school?
Yes.
Has anybody reached out to him or to you, to him through you? I mean, from the government, from any agency?
Yes, because the CPFSA reach out.
That is who? The Child
Protection Services and the OCA, the Office of the Children Advocate. Yeah, so
they reached out to you.
Yes.
What did they say?
Trying to encourage us, trying to deal with the matter as best as possible. To see
did they offer counseling?
Yes, because I went to counseling once at CPFSA in Highgate. So the counselor supposed to meet him at the school sometimes to have counseling again.
Yeah, I could see, and I heard, and I said it the Sunday morning before I even knew that it happened in Jamaica. I heard your son saying some things, and I knew that he was in serious shock.
Yes.
Because he was talking about
his mom not being here, and I'm the only one. And that's one of the things that drive fear in him. Because I'm the only one that here with them as a parent. God. So he was saying to them, no one is helping my father. It's only me, him, and my sister is the only one that taking care of us.
He was desperate.
Yes.
I heard that.
As a parent, and you are the only one, as a father, and your son see police trying to take you away, you're going to think a lot of things. And he's just 11 years old.
Yeah. He was desperate. He said all of that. It's my father, my father alone, and my mother. And you could see that he was afraid, traumatized, and desperate.
Yes.
How do you feel?
To me,
I mean, to see your son in such a situation.
To see my son's pepper sprayed and I can't do nothing about it. I feel helpless, honestly. Helpless, honestly. And that thing hurt me to the core of my body. To see some trained officers couldn't restrain an 11-year-old by just holding him. Even shake him and said, sit down here, man. But to me, they thought he was a high school student because they insisted to charge him.
How old is he again?
11 years old.
Pepper sprayed. Wow. And you say that when you saw that feeling so helpless as a father? What were you able to do, if anything?
The only thing I could do is just comply, don't get the matters worse, and just try to, because I thank God up to today that nothing escalated in a different way, because a lot of things could happen.
Yes, I saw. Yes. How is your daughter?
The only issue that she have at first, she don't like to see the video. I'm not going to lose 4 points.
Jamaica to know about your family, about what has happened, and from here.
My family, I tried, because I am a family man. I'm family orientated, and I love my kids very much. I have them when I was when I was 20, 23, turned 24 that same year.
Yeah, because you yourself look like 20.
And I cherish them both. I have a son and a daughter, and in this society now, you have to try to raise them, and people got giving these negative comments about this child need to be disciplined, and they don't know nothing. They don't know what transpired in that situation.
No. Yes, that's the thing, is because your son, it was obvious from the video that he was acting out of fear, and it's not that we're condoning anything or saying to young people, grab a police officer.
It's not right.
Right, but and what have you said to him, if anything?
Even when I was in the police station that same evening, I said to him, what you have done is wrong. You have wrong. And a lot of people say to me, what he has done wrong. Tell me what he has done wrong. I
understand the nuances, but as a father, you're saying, next time, do not rush in.
Yes, because
he said he was protecting you.
Obviously.
Of course.
Obviously.
He was protecting his father.
Obviously.
And so that is a lesson that you learn along the way. And all families, we have to caution our children.
Yes.
If you see me at a police stop, do not rush in.
Fresh from the vehicle.
I am an adult trying, right? So we understand that, but we understand all of it. Do not judge this young man. He did this. It was the adrenaline. It was a need to protect. You could see the flight or fright in that young man. My brother, all the best. Thank you for coming in. And as I said before, please let me know. And let us know if there's anything we can do.
And thanks for having me also.
And let us know if there's anything we can do. All right? Okay, thank you so much. Horace Robinson, who right now as we're here, is on his way to, I'll just picked up his daughter from school. This is what he does. You're inside of the Stepping Razor. This is KABU in for Muta. And we're going through until 5:45 when it'll be time for the news. Time on IRA FM. Do we have a break? No? Time on IRA FM, a minute after 4 o'clock. And of course, it's a hard segue, but we're going back to talk about our brother who was transcended, Benjamin Zephaniah. We're going live to. Okay, she's already online. To Handsworth. Go to Handsworth, Birmingham, where my sister Ancobia is standing by. All right, live from Handsworth, Birmingham. When we talk about Benjamin Zephaniah, we talk about the UK, we talk about Handsworth, we talk about Birmingham, we talk about his heritage, his Barbadian and Jamaican heritage, although we have totally claimed him. And I know Ancobia will have something to say about that because she has a very similar heritage. She's Ancobia, but you do know that we claim you as Jamaican too. So it's just what we do. Welcome, my sister. How are you doing?
I'm very well, my sister, and as you like to say, I'm well if you are well.
We're well, in spite of. Ancobia, you have a similar heritage to Benjamin Zephaniah. So does that make you feel...
Yeah, so I'm
yes, go ahead.
We're claiming back half of it.
I wish you luck with that. Remember, we already have claimed Rihanna. If you see how it is, we're very good at this.
Yes.
We're very good at this.
I'm sure you've claimed Nicki Minaj as well.
Yeah, we're good at this. You can't beat us. Remember, last Sunday I was talking about Walter Rodney. Is that, can you imagine Jamaica claiming Walter Rodney? Granted, he was here, but you think, you hear about Rodney, he's Jamaican. So we forget that he's Guyanese.
He spent so much time in Jamaica. He spent so much time in Jamaica as well. So
yes.
Yeah, he loved Jamaica.
Right. When did you first, because I know you are a producer extraordinaire. I have seen you at work.
Thank you.
And full disclosure, let me just let our listeners know, because it's been a while since we've had a conversation on Cobia, that we studied, we went to the same university, right?
We did indeed.
Yes, in Birmingham. So
yes.
And I know you are a brilliant producer. I know that you have been looking at the music, the history of the music, also looking at the stalwarts in the music and people like Benjamin Zephaniah. When did you first become aware of Benjamin Zephaniah?
When I was a young girl. When I was a young girl, but more so when I moved to Birmingham when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And on Villa Road, when you go down Villa Road, which is in LaSalle's, there's a big, beautiful graffiti painting of Benjamin Zephaniah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to inquire more about him, like, why would they do that?
Yes.
It must be really important, to Birmingham, to Handsworth. Mm-hmm. And indeed he is. He's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard about him when I was young.
Yes.
Through his poetry, through his dub poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the same level as you would have heard a MUTABARUKA.
Yes.
Because I think in Britain, they were more inclined to go for Jamaicans from Jamaica
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and try and keep the British Jamaicans back just a little bit.
Right. And that's why...
But he's not...
Yes.
Yeah, but you couldn't hold him back. You couldn't hold him back. He eventually... He came through on a whole another level.
Let us talk about... Go ahead, Hank.
Yeah, I wonder if you know that he spent some time growing up in Jamaica, in Black River, St. Elizabeth.
Right, yes. And somehow, even with that, as you said, and even though we have claimed him, that he, even for us here on the island, when we talk about him and claim him as Jamaican, we still refer to him in the way that so many others refer to him as a UK, a British poet. But
yeah.
he's such a cosmopolitan, global, Pan-African activist or globalist, if you will, isn't he?
Most certainly, he was. I'm not sure if he would have used the word Pan-Africanist because he's very much saw himself as a multiculturalist.
Yes, true.
But
true.
In the true sense of Pan-Africanist, then we can claim him too in that arena.
Yes. You're totally right about that, actually.
Yeah, he definitely saw himself as a multiculturalist. And I was reasoning with a friend today, why did the establishment take to him so much? Not so much in the latter years, because he was quite outspoken, more and more, he was more angrier, he was very clear on his position regarding Israel and Palestine. So they didn't tend to bring him so much into the mainstream, but they focused more on his books for children. Me and a friend was talking, I'm after Fair Brother, we were trying to figure out why did the mainstream claim him, and they claimed him because of the multicultural focus in his work. And I'm not against that on any level, because somebody has to break through at that level. Someone has to take the message, to the table at that level. And in doing so, he never compromised. In fact, he was very critical of black poets who stopped doing the work that they did in their younger days in the hope that they would get more money on the table, get more glory. He absolutely had no time for them. So, and that was the beauty of him, that he didn't compromise on any level. He came on TV and he spoke his mind. He didn't care. In fact, one time he was invited to speak in America on some, the situations of young refugee boys. And he was asked, if you're going to say anything about Palestine, he asked that you don't, just leave it. If you do slip and mention Palestine, can you please not use the term occupied territories? He gave them the mic and come out the place.
And that was Benjamin Zephaniah. I mean, and look at his response. And we have been texting about this back and forth this morning. And look at his response when he turned down the MBE. And you sent me a clip of this. As a matter of fact, I interviewed him about this. I'm so sorry I can't find my own archival material. But you sent me a clip this morning of that, which I want to play for a minute. If you heard from me. I don't know why I start talking a British accent, but queer. Anyway, so let me... Let
me rub up on each other, don't worry.
Yes. So let me go and play this clip. Hang on there.
Now, what made you get into doing poetry? Like, you weren't gifted with reading, so
I couldn't read and write. When I left school, I really genuinely couldn't read and write. And even now, I'm very dyslexic. So I left school at 13. No, I didn't leave school. I got expelled. So the teacher said, seriously, outside the school, said, you are a born...
All right, I am trying to get to that part where he said why he didn't. So let me cut in.
It's about 45 seconds on.
All right, so let me play it through. But I know you also texted me that. Yeah. So read that for me, Ank, because you also texted me that script.
Okay, let me just...
If you can find that, if not, then...
most certainly, I can...
as we pay tribute to Benjamin Zephaniah.
He says, so he rejected his OBE, which is the Order of the British Empire, in 2003 due to the association of such an honour with the British Empire in the history of slavery. He said, I've been fighting against empire all my life, fighting against slavery and colonialism all my life. I've been writing to connect with people, not to impress governments and monarchy, so I could then accept an honour that puts the word empire onto my name. That would be hypocritical. Wow.
Right. That is quite something to have rejected that. And I noticed that the BBC and other media that's reporting on him today are foregrounding that he rejected the OBE. What does it mean for Birmingham? How is he celebrated or not in spaces like Birmingham, Handsworth in particular?
He's more celebrated. Birmingham, I call Birmingham the cultural capital of the black cultural capital of the UK, primarily because of Handsworth and the heavy level of Pan-Africanism in Birmingham. It's a whole nother level altogether, especially back in the day. Now, there's two ways in which we take Zephaniah. He's loved in the city of Birmingham, absolutely loved. When you come to the Handsworth, so to speak, in the city now, he's very much respected, but if I had to say to some of the youths, mainly some of his poems, they actually couldn't. Or tell me a book he's written, they probably couldn't. So he's more of a status symbol.
Okay.
As opposed to somebody that they're following closely. Because we have a horrible habit in this country as black people. Once someone goes mainstream, we assume naturally that they've sold out. And he never did.
Never did, and it takes us right back to the OBE, for example, and his outspokenness. He was also, Ank, as you've pointed out, very open about his own struggles.
Yes,
as a man.
Yes, he struggled on several levels. He struggled with mental health issues. He struggled with the fact that he couldn't bear children, that he was infertile. It was a real, for years he said he struggled. He absolutely struggled when he would watch his friend, introducing their children to him and talking about their wife pregnant and waiting for the birth of the new baby. Or when he struggled when he heard his friends complaining about their children and how much they cost and blah, blah, blah. And, that he shouldn't worry about having kids because he was a free man. But he said it hurt him quite a lot to hear that. But he said he kind of overcame it when he found out 7 parents had named their sons after him, and he got to meet 6 of those parents.
Oh, brilliant!
And it kind of made him feel like he would live on in that way.
Yes. And you mentioned earlier his anger. He's been very open about his anger and about how how his own upbringing contributed to that anger.
As well. Can I just say something before we touch that?
Yes.
He wanted to adopt children, but because of a police record he'd had from 1975, the adoption agency for years refused him and his wife to adopt children. So he did try.
Wow.
But they refused because of a crime, a burglary he did in 1975. It was still on his record, and they said no. But his father was a Bajan, and his mother was a Jamaican lady, a nurse. And his father was very violent towards the mother. They had 9 children together. And in the end, the mother had to run away. And she took Benjamin with her. The others stayed with the father. And he said how it affected him was that he assumed it was normal for every family that every father beat their wife. To him, it was normal. So when he would speak to his friends, what do you do? How do you cope with the fact that your father beats your mother? They're like, my father doesn't beat my mother. He's like, what are you talking about? He must do. He's like, no. Okay, does your mother beat your father? It's like, no. There's no fighting in our house. So that's when he realized, hold on, something's strange here. And that one day he wanted to write about it and talk about it. But he also says it went on to affect him in his relationships where he began beating women. He said he wasn't a man who was up in a woman's face 24/7, but he did, if they, got his temper going, they'd get a beating.
And he's spoken openly about this.
He did, because he says for years it plagued his conscience so much. He was a man who meditated, who believed in the power of meditation over the Bible, over the Quran. These are his words. And he couldn't understand how his own ability, that he meditated every day, he jogged every day, he did yoga every day, but he couldn't find a way to get this beast out of him. And it tortured him that he had treated women in this manner.
Wow.
So he overcame it, but with great struggle.
Okay. Ank, finally, what would you say, and I know we hate this question in the media, but here I am asking you, and I know you hate it too, but what would you say is his legacy?
Oh, that question.
Yes, we hate it. Don't know why we ask it, but here we go.
What is his legacy? His legacy is the fact that he existed.
Yes.
He came, he saw, he did, he contributed. He could have gone down a whole different route. He had all the excuses in the world not to become somebody in this world. He had every excuse not to try. He left school at the age of 13, couldn't read, couldn't write. Unheard of in the UK, but that was the case back in the day. So to me, his legacy is that he existed. He's got a legacy of albums, books galore, about 9 books he's got. Those books
became a professor.
Selling.
Became a professor.
He became a professor. He worked with people like Noam Chomsky. He was made a doctorate at several universities across the UK, which was absolutely massive. He got honorary doctorates from the Open University, Oxford Brookes University, the University College of Northampton, the Universities of Central England, East London, Leicester, North London, the South Bank University, Staffordshire, and West England universities.
Wow.
That is massive. His legacy is huge. He's now featured, can you imagine, in the curriculum? His books are featured as part of the educational curriculum in this country.
I'm sure that the conversations as we go forward will focus on that aspect of him. I'm so sorry we're out of time. He's also an actor, by the way, in Peaky Blinders. Can you imagine that? We've seen him in that.
Yes.
Thank you.
When I saw him, I couldn't believe it.
Yes. And Kobia, thank you so much, my sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my
sister. I really appreciate
Lovely
you
to speak with you.
Same here.
Good afternoon to everybody in Jamaica. Bye-bye.
And Kobia there in Handsworth, Birmingham. Thank you so much for joining us on the 107s, on the internet, on your mobile apps, wherever you're listening to IRFM from and on Flow, Channel 822, on DigiPlay. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you so much for joining us inside of Stepping. Reza, we're in for MUTA. My name is KABU. We're in for MUTA this week. MUTA will be back next week. Well, we're paying close attention to what's happening in the region. You might have heard, and we've been focusing on this a whole lot, of the border dispute, the Guyana-Venezuela border dispute. This is not something to be ignored. We're paying attention to this. We think that it is worth the attention. We heard Professor Mike Curtin a few weeks ago calling on CARICOM to convene a summit because this was going to be as serious as it is turning out to be. For those who don't know, a quick background to this, the Guyana-Venezuela Essequibo border dispute. This is a long-standing and complex territorial disagreement between the South American countries of Guyana and Venezuela. The dispute centers around the ownership of the Essequibo region, which is a vast territory located to the west of the Essequibo River. The area in question is about the size of Florida or the size of Tunisia. And it is rich in natural resources and mineral resources, including significant oil reserves. And Sunday, as you know, Venezuela held a referendum. The majority of Venezuelans, 95% we're told, voted yes on the 5 questions, which included annexing 70% of Guyana to Venezuela. Already, the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, has already redrawn the map of Venezuela. So if you take a look at that, also, he has given the miners in the region 3 months to leave the region. And we understand that troops are amassing, that there are troop movements on every side. Guyana's, Venezuela's, and Brazil, which of course is caught in the middle. Well, here's something that might be a little bit frightening. Southcom. If you go on the United States Embassy website today, you will see where Southcom, there's a headline that said Southcom to conduct flight over Guyana. This is why we have to pay attention. It is not as simple as it appears. I'm reading now from the website of the United States Embassy, Georgetown. And so they say, in collaboration with the Guyana Defense Force, the GDF, the United States Southern Command, U.S. Southcom, will conduct flight operations within Guyana on December 7. This exercise builds upon routine engagement and operations to enhance security partnership between the United States and Guyana and to strengthen the regional cooperation. In addition to this exercise, U.S. Southcom will continue its collaboration with the GDF in the areas of disaster preparedness, aerial and maritime security, and countering transnational criminal organizations. The U.S. will continue its commitment as Guyana's trusted security partner and promoting regional cooperation and interoperability. Now, this is serious. It sounds innocuous, but really and truly, it's not. So Venezuela is a country with 30 million. Guyana is a country with 800 million. The Essequibo region has with 800,000. The Essequibo is a region of 125,000. It is rich in crude oil. It's the world's largest crude oil reserves. Venezuela being the second largest. So you see what we're fighting with. And Maduro has something to prove. He has something to prove. Everybody's going back to the elections that's coming up in 2024. I do not think it is that simple. It's geopolitics at its best. The United States seem to be somehow on both sides of this issue because, I'm going to tell you why I say that. The United States is on both sides of this issue. I'm saying this because just recently, and geopolitics is what we're talking about, right? So we see the ongoing war, which is almost over now between Russia and NATO. in Ukraine, because that's a proxy war. Russia is not fighting Ukraine. Russia is fighting NATO in Ukraine. That's called a proxy. This is what is happening. Russia has already won that war, because you saw the vote in the U.S. Congress, was it yesterday or the day before, that they voted to end funding to the Ukraine. So Russia has already won this war. The thing now is for America to pull out without losing face. I think there's something about that in the Bible. As long as they don't spill their seed on the ground. This is where America is now. All right. So the American people are saying too much. We're not giving any more money to Ukraine. And so they voted against that. America had already gone to Venezuela for oil. Remember now that they are now sanctioned. They had heavy sanctions on Chavez and Maduro. They had even installed a second president. There were two presidents for a while. But now that they have imposed such heavy sanctions on Venezuela, what they're doing now is, on Russia, they've gone to Venezuela for oil. And so already Venezuela is exporting oil to the United States. And not only that, the U.S. has loosened sanctions on Venezuela. But the U.S. Southcom is in Guyana. Guyana is sitting on a ton load of crude, a ton load, the world's largest reserves. In addition to that, Guyana is sitting on gold. That entire area, though, belongs to the indigenous people, the Amerindians, the indigenous people. That entire area, they do not have a voice in this. They have not been given a voice. We have this long-standing dispute that's coming from colonial times, treaties up and treaties up and treaties. It's 200 years old and probably more. But here we are. Today, the United States South Command having all kinds of flights in the area. That's a threat of war. So we're watching this. The Guyana president has actually taken this very serious. He has now gone to the United Nations. He's appealing to CARICOM. And what's interesting is that CARICOM has finally decided to convene a summit. Finally. Late to the game. Finally decided to convene a summit. And I see where Andrew Holness has put out that press release. Very late to the game. We understand they're going to do that tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Not quite sure, but we'll look at that again. But really and truly, we need to wake up from our sleep, because this geopolitics is playing out around us. Around us. Where we stand in all of this is going to determine whether or not we survive. These are dark times, my love. These are different times. We're moving into a whole other level. And we must determine where we stand and how we're going to stand. Well, I stand with Guyana. In the first place, I stand with the indigenous people, right? But we understand the geopolitics of this. I stand with Guyana. We'll be back with us next week. Want to go to the phone lines now, because we have been talking about prostate cancer. And every time we talk about prostate cancer in this space and anywhere across IRFM, we talk about the prevalence of prostate cancer in Jamaica and how we stack up in the world. It is frightening. It has been, and it still is. But there is a conference that's underway at the University of the West Indies. And participating in this conference is Dr. Belinda Morrison, who is doing research, will be presenting research on prostate cancer. Dr. Morrison, thank you so much for joining us inside of a Stepping Razor this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
All right, good to hear from you. First of all, and let's talk a little bit about the conference, the SUNY UWI Health Research Consortium Conference. Tell us a little bit about that conference.
Well, for the past maybe 3 or 4 years, State University of New York and UWI have been trying to collaborate on some important clinical areas that affect not just Jamaica, but the world. And it's really trying to do collaborative research where we can learn about patients, where we can learn from each other and try to make meaningful impact scientifically in terms of the management of patients. There's several conditions that they're looking at, but specifically for me as a urologist, one of the things that we've been trying to get data on and do research on is prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm. Can we back up a little to talk about some of the areas that the conference will be focusing on before we go into prostate cancer?
Well, certainly just even for today, some of the things discussed were the impact of climate change on health, neurological disorders, as I said, prostate cancer, the various, areas looking at pediatrics. So it's a wide breadth of areas if you can think about it.
Yes.
It is being, researched and investigated. In Jamaica, prostate cancer is the leading cause of cancer. Overall, about 20% of cancers that are diagnosed in Jamaica are attributed to prostate cancer. That's the leading cause of cancer.
A leading cause of cancer in Jamaica.
Correct. In Jamaica, it is.
How does this compare to other jurisdictions in the region and out of the region?
In the region, I'll tell you that, like in Barbados, it is the leading cancer as well, and I mean several other countries it is. In the U.S., it's the second. The first really is skin, but if you look at non-skin cancer, prostate would be right up there. So it's our leading cause of cancer. It's our leading cause of cancer-related deaths as well. And if you look at the cancers that men get, 40% are prostate cancer.
Do we know why this is so?
To say why, you have to look at some of the risk factors. Major ones with the increase in age. So across the world, regardless of racial background, as men get older, they are more likely to get prostate cancer. And it's a disease that's seen highest incidence really in men in their 60s, 70s, and above. Not to say that younger men cannot get it, but the highest rates are seen as men get older.
Well, and of course, what I want, can you also look then at how lifestyle during 30s, 40s might impact or not what happens in 60s, 70s?
We're not really sure. We know that the major risk factors are increasing age. We know that black race increases the risk even more. And yes, non-black people get it, but in populations where you have a mixture of persons, you find that the black persons are at greater risk. And a family history increases the risk. But those are definite things that have been proven over and over. The impact on lifestyle and diet in the young or even in the elderly, there may be an impact. And I think that is something that is currently being subject to more and more research, that perhaps it's a modifiable risk factor, because the others I mentioned you cannot change in terms of age and race and family history. But potentially lifestyle is, and there have been studies that have shown that certain types of lifestyle, especially diet, an unhealthy diet may increase the risk.
All right. What will an unhealthy diet that would increase?
It means that which has a lot of fats, a fatty food, a lot of high carbohydrate diet, a diet that doesn't have enough fruits or not enough vegetables. Yeah, that's the diet we're talking about there.
It's interesting because we have a campaign now to eat more pork, but pork itself is fatty.
Yeah, it is. And I'm aware of the campaign, but I mean, in everything you have to measure risk, and you also have to look at quantities and proportions. So I very rarely tell my patients do not, but I say in moderation and minimize.
But the campaign, but Dr. Morrison, the campaign, not saying I'm very scared of that. Well, me very scared of that campaign. Let me just say it, because I know that pork is fatty, and I've done so many programs on prostate cancer in this space that I know that if you're going to encourage Jamaican, especially men, to eat more pork, that would come with a warning sign like the cigarette pack.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so those are the risk factors really, and it's not unique to Jamaica, but what is unique to Jamaica is the fact that we have very high rates of very aggressive, high-risk prostate cancer here.
Okay.
And so a lot of international groups are very interested to partner with us, to collaborate with us, and we're happy to do so.
Yes.
Because we want to learn more. We want to be able to do research that is meaningful and impactful, so it can change the lifestyle of our patients and even how we manage them. And that's the whole genesis of this whole collaboration with SUNY.
How can prostate cancer be prevented?
It can't be right now, and that's a fact.
Right.
You know, many of us have been looking into lifestyle modification, dietary changes or so, and as you were speaking about even in the young, but that has not been proven. You know, so we are not able to say with any, you know, concrete facts that we can prevent it.
It can be treated?
We can say, absolutely, it can be treated, it can be cured. What we encourage men to do is detect it early. So I'm sure you hear this discussion even with breast cancer.
Yes.
Detect it early by doing a mammogram. With colon cancer, detect it early by doing colonoscopies and your screening. For prostate, it's pretty much the same thing. If you detect it early, it can be treated. It can even be cured, because if it's picked up early, it can be cured. And that way men can live long, healthy, productive lives.
What's the process?
Right now, we don't know if it can be prevented.
Okay, what's the process of detecting it early? What do you need to do to detect it early?
The primary thing is doing a blood test, which checks for a substance called a PSA. The PSA stands for prostate-specific antigen, and that's released by doing the blood test.
All right, we'll talk some more on this. I'd really like to invite you into another space and another time to have a longer conversation. But the conference is on. Who is this for?
So it's for members of the academic community. I mean, we have speakers from across the world. People from the National Institute of Health who are funding organizations for many of the research studies that are done in the U.S. And that will probably be funding some of the work that we will be doing.
Yes.
So we're looking at persons like medical students, researchers, not restricted or limited to the University of the West Indies at all. There are many other universities across Jamaica. And of course, I mean, it's on the Zoom platform as well, so persons can register for the conference.
Where do they need to go to register?
They can contact, or they can go to the Department of Microbiology online, and they would see the link for the conference, and they can register, and they'll get the Zoom link and go on. It's really an insightful conference.
I can see that, and I'd really encourage those who this is targeted at to attend. Are there CME credits attached to this?
I am not aware that they are.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
I'm asking on behalf of somebody.
Yes, I'm not aware.
Yeah, all right. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Belinda Morrison, and all the best for the conference. It started today and it goes into tomorrow.
Yes.
So people can register for the full day tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Morrison.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Zephaniah, man. Listen, it is 27 after 5 o'clock. We know we're going to go into another break shortly, and then at 5:45 it will be time for news. So let me find some time to say thanks to the team. We're here for a little while, but let me say thanks to the team. Thanks to Shamara Preston, to Vivian Stewart, to my in-studio broadcast assistant, who has done a stellar job, a pretty good job. Thank you so much, Michelle Thorney. Great job, actually, as a broadcast assistant on the program today. Appreciate your professionalism. Also, being there right throughout the program with me, Shane Clark, as usual. Thank you so much, Shane. Thank you so much, Wilbert Wisdom, who was here earlier with us. Mac. Thank you, Robert Williams. Thank you to the newsroom. And to my very special guests, in our tribute to Benjamin Zephaniah, Ian Forrest, thank you so much, attorney at law, and Kobia in the UK, in Birmingham, journalist, producer, social commentator, and Kobia, thank you so much, my sister. Refugee crisis and Haitians coming into Jamaica, the human rights concern, thanks to Malaine Alain, to the father whose son went through an ordeal just recently, a police traffic stop that went. My brother Fitzroy Robinson for coming in studio. Thank you so much to Dr. Belinda Morrison, who spoke on research on prostate cancer and the conference that is ongoing. We're going to be here for a little while, just a little bit while longer. In the meantime, though, it is more of Benjamin Zephaniah. As you know, we woke up this morning to the shocking news. The news has spread that caused a shockwave across the globe, because we didn't know that our brother was ill. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor just 8 weeks ago. And in the wee hours of this morning, he died. His wife was by his side and his family, we're told. Benjamin Zephaniah, his legacy continues. He's left the building, as I said. Benjamin Zephaniah has left the building, but his work continues. So we're going to take a short break and come back with more of Benjamin Zephaniah. Thank you so much. My name is KABU MAAT KHERU. In for MUTABARUKA on the Stepping Razor. Muta will be back next week, inshallah.